you guys, welcome back to the channel. Who hasn't heard Tiffany Henyard, our mayor's favorite saying? I grew here, they flew here. Well, one person for sure definitely did fly here, President Jimmy Carter. And before, the Dolton board meetings was standing room only, the hottest ticket in town. President Jimmy Carter packed the house at Thornridge High School. 2,500 people filled the gymnasium and 5,000 people stood outside to see the 39th President of the United States. Let's intake some history and go down memory lane. President Jimmy Carter will hold a town meeting in Dolton on October 16th. It was learned Friday afternoon. The president will preside over a special town meeting answering questions from more than 2,500 residents at the Thornridge High School on 147th and Cottage Grove Avenue in Dolton. Persons will be selected to participate in the meeting through a random drawing of names submitted in a coupon lottery. Persons interested in attending may clip out the coupon, which appears in Today Pointer papers, and mail it to Carter Town Meeting, Main Post Office, 1200 Ring Road, Calumet City, Illinois, 60409. All entries must be received by midnight Wednesday. The drawing will be held on Friday at Thornton Township Hall, 333 East 162nd Street in South Holland. The names selected will appear in the Pointer papers on Sunday, October 14th. Preparations for this meeting are being handled by U.S. Rep. Martin Russo and his office. I guess you could say President Carter sort of invited himself here. Although we're happy he's coming, Bob McCary, Russo's office manager, said, "We got a call from the White House just last week asking if we could set up a town meeting. It's not too much notice, but the plans are coming along fine." President Carter will arrive in Chicago on October the 15th to attend a fundraising dinner for Mayor Jane Byrne. The town meeting will be held following morning at 9 a.m. Following that, the president will return to Washington, D.C., McCary said. What issues Carter addresses himself during the meeting will be up to the crowd, McCary said. Persons will be randomly selected from the audience before the meeting to begin to ask the president any questions they choose, he added. The questions will be selected ahead of time to assure that the meeting will be orderly. There will be no restrictions on who will ask questions or what they may ask, McCary said. At the last town meeting Mr. Carter attended, I believe it was in Queens, New York. One person asked him if he was still jogging, so people should be free to ask what he wants. Only persons selected through the coupon lottery will be eligible to attend the meeting. I thought this was pretty cool. These are kids from Franklin School. You guys, Franklin School is in Dolton. I thought this was really cool. Okay, guys, so one of the 12 people who questioned the president and they asked softball questions, I wonder if this guy is still around. It's somebody named Harvey Harris, and he made the newspaper. So they asked some questions like, a lot of people were starstruck. They were taking photos. One was John Bukowski. He wanted to know does the president spank Amy? Carol Bethos, on the other hand, didn't want to ask anything, even though she was the first to arrive and had the best seat in the house. I'm afraid I'll ask something nerdy, she explained. Then we had Bernard Karzinski. He was too busy taking photographs. He sat on a ladder in his driveway and snapped madly as the big black limousine deposited the President of the United States directly in front of his home. And he lived in South Suburban Dolton, right across the street from Thornridge High School, where President Carter town meeting Tuesday generated the kind of excitement usually reserved for a school's champion basketball game. So Krasinski said, "Ain't this something?" And of course, it was something of Krasinski's neighbors and fellow townspeople aren't likely to forget. The president received a warm, enthusiastic response from 2,500 crowded into the school gymnasium and from about another, 400, I think this is, who milled around the school. In fact, 5,000. I'm sorry, guys. 5,000. I'm so sorry. I couldn't see it. 5,000 who milled around the school. In fact, it was a love fest. Most people were too nervous to ask questions, and no one asked nasty questions. There were very few cynical remarks, all except a lone heckler. Just one heckler, guys. That looks different than the Dolton meetings, right? Quickly hustled away, were polite and upbeat. Everyone seemed more awed by the president's celebrity status than concerned about his politics. They knew the town meeting was essentially a public relations device, but because the president picked their community, it seemed sincere and legitimate. Someone said, "It's quite an honor just to be here," said Lois Bacoris, I hope I have it right, who sat in the front row of the gymnasium floor a few feet from the president. Bacoris, a department manager for J.C. Penney and Schomburg, added, "When you are a guest at something like this, you don't feel like you should even ask a question." Bacoris brought along his wife, Dora, his son, Mark, and his nephew, Stephen Dallinus. I'm sorry if I'm butchering the names, guys. Mark and Stephen had questions, but since only 12 people got to quiz the president, it was unasked. "How come the temperature is so low in our school?" Stephen would have asked. But John Benkowski's question would have drawn a bigger laugh. 10-year-old John, wow, John, who was 10 in 1979. If you come across this article, I'd love to hear from you. 10-year-old John, one of the several grade schoolers brought in for a first-hand lesson in civics, had his question all neatly written out on lined school note paper, just in case he got nervous and forgot. "Do you support a law, as there is in Sweden, to make it illegal for a parent to spank a child? And do you spank Amy?" Asked if he had. That's all I got on that, you guys. I'll do more. I'm gonna put some pictures here because I can't really do a video right now. It's a lot going on, but I'll put pictures here of President Carter in Thornridge coming to Dolton, and we'll talk about it on live tomorrow. I'll also put some pictures and I'll put names in the newspaper clippings in the comments. So if you know these people, share the video.
Good evening. It was during his 1976 presidential campaign when Jimmy Carter found an ally in former Chicago Mayor Richard J. Daley. That summer of 1976, Carter flew to Chicago for a fundraiser where he was met by former Mayor Daley at O'Hare Airport. He was then escorted to the Blackstone Hotel on Michigan Avenue, where he was then met by a crowd of thousands. He was later inaugurated in 1977, but sadly, Mayor Richard J. Daley didn't live to see that happen. In 1979, Carter returned as he campaigned for a second term, speaking to a town hall at Thornridge High School in Dolton. He returned to Chicago after his presidency in the mid-'80s to West Garfield Park, where he built homes for Habitat for Humanity. He and his wife built a 4-unit townhome on the corner of Maypole and Kildare and lived in the Guyton Hotel in West Garfield Park until that project was complete. Now, statements and tributes are starting to pour in from politicians across the country and here in our state. Illinois Senator Dick Durbin released a statement saying, in part, his life was an inspiration to those of us who aspire to lead a life of service, while also offering his condolences to the family, friends, and former staff of Carter. Former President Bill Clinton and Secretary Hillary Clinton released a statement saying, in part, Hillary and I mourn the passing of President Jimmy Carter and give thanks for his long, good life. Guided by his faith, President Carter lived to serve others until the very end. The two went on touting his accomplishments as a president to his post-presidential efforts. Lastly, Mayor Brandon Johnson also released a statement on X, formerly known as Twitter, saying in part, his legacy of love and his service to God and country are admirable beyond measure, while also calling Carter a personal inspiration. Now, we do expect more tributes and statements to come in from more politicians, both past and present, about the death of the 39th president. Meanwhile, we are looking back in our archives and files at stories we've done and also where he has made appearances right here in the city of Chicago. We hope to bring that to you tonight at 10. Reporting in the newsroom, I'm Darius Johnson. Megan, back to you.